Dear Daily News Report viewers, after watching this video, you can reach the video we shared previously by clicking on the top right button. The main topic of the previous video was about the economic collapse of USA. We recommend watching, subscribing, and sharing. Thanks in advance. Global debt levels have been rising for over 100 years, and we are now facing the biggest debt crisis in all human history. We have never seen such a high level of debt saturation all over the world before, and almost everyone understands that as well, and very, very badly at some point. The only real question is when. Many believe that the current global debt super cycle began when the Federal Reserve was founded in 1913. The central banks were designed to create debt, and since 1913, United States national debt has grown 6,800 times. But of course, it's not just the United States that makes this kind of prediction. At this point, more than 99% of the entire planet's population lives in a country with a central bank that creates debt, and as a result, the whole world is drowning in debt. When people say things will get better in 2020 and beyond, I have a hard time rolling my eyes. The truth is that the only way we can continue to maintain our current ridiculously high debt-fueled standard of living is to grow debt much faster than the growth of the economy. We can do this for a short time, but giant financial bubbles like this are always over, and we won't be any exceptions. Barack Obama and his team understood what was happening and were able to keep us away from a terrible economic crisis by stealing more than $9 trillion from Americans of future generations and pumping it into the United States economy. As a result, the federal government is currently borrowing $25 trillion, which means that the final crash will be much worse than we will experience in our vehicles during this time. Companies and households also definitely enormous amounts of debt. Corporate debt has nearly doubled since the last financial crisis, and United States consumers now have more than $18 trillion in debt. When you put together all kinds of debt, America's debt GDP ratio is around 352%. I think the drawing below has done a pretty good job to show how crazy it is. If your brother earns $100,000 annually and borrows $10,000 from his credit card, he can consume $110,000 worth of material. In this example, his debt to his personal GDP is only 10%. What if he could get more loans each year and reach a point where his total debt reached $352,000, but his income remains the same? The personal debt GDP ratio will now be 352%. If he could borrow at super low interest rates, maybe he could continue his monthly loan payments. Could it be? But how much could he borrow? Which lender can lend him more? What if these low rates starts to rise? How much debt can the $100,000 income meet? Essentially, it has come to the end of its debt cycle. The United States is definitely not alone in this regard. When you look at the industrialized world, you see three-digit debt similar to GDP numbers. When this current debt supercycle finally ends, it will create economic pain on a scale unlike anything you've seen before. This is the inevitable result of a 100-year loan expansion from almost nothing to $250 trillion and about $500 trillion of unfunded debt, as well as derivatives of $1.5 quadrillion. This is an amazing total of $2.25 quadrillion. So the question is not what can go wrong, because all these obligations are guaranteed to appear at some point. And when they do, it will bring misery to a world of greatness that no one can even imagine. It is of course very difficult to predict the end of a big cycle, because this is not just a 100-year cycle, it is probably a 2,000-year cycle. It is also impossible to predict how long the decline will last. Will it be gradual, like the Dark Ages, 500 years after the fall of the Roman Empire? Or will the decline be faster, this time due to the explosion of the biggest bubble in the world history? The latter is more likely. It will become much larger, especially before the bubble swells. And there are certainly many signs that a global slowdown has begun. For example, global trade growth has dropped below 2% only for the third time since 2000. On the other occasions, we have seen a terrible recession, for more signs that economic conditions are getting worse. Please listen, this is the greatest depression ever. This is banking collapse, dollar collapse, United States collapse by clicking on top right button. Of course, most of the world is already in the middle of a terrible economic crisis. Brazil is in the midst of its worst recessions ever, and people are literally starving in Venezuela. A new debt problem has erupted in Europe and Greece. Portugal and Italy are the latest flashpoints. Just like in 2007, many mock the idea that a major economic downturn has come to the United States. They believe that today's ridiculously high stock market values can continue indefinitely and believe in politicians. However, it will not be long before the start of a new economic crisis in America, and the civil unrest I have revealed in the beginning of the end burst across the country. I don't understand why more people can't see it. Government debt, corporate debt, and consumer debt are growing faster than the general economy. Can someone explain to me how this can be sustainable in the long term? I thought he was a mentor, but someone who has died since then seemed to be better for a while before the next crash came. And it turned out to be exactly right. We're in a session when the economic conditions in the United States are getting a little better, and this has blinded the fact that many people are about to happen to us. Dear Daily News Report viewers, to produce better quality content, please subscribe to our channel and don't forget to like and comment on our videos. Thank you. Most of the idea, comment, information, and criticism containing in these videos have been created by Daily News Report. Before making any important investment decision, use the information contained in these videos as a starting point for conducting your own research. If you make any investment or legal decision, it is advised to consult an expert before making this decision.